Welcome to the channel. It is a wet old day here today, so we're going to do an oil change on the bike. So the tools required for this job, the manual. I use the manual. I like the manual. 13mm socket and an 8mm socket, a torque wrench, a pair of pliers is handy, a pair of circlip pliers with the flat tips on it, replacement filter, some appropriate oil, parts cleaner, a drain pan, rags. I've already run the engine of the bike just to warm up the oil. Ran it till the fan came on. That should make the oil nice and thin and let it flow out and drain properly. There are 3 bolts that need to be removed. I've watched some videos and they only talk about 2. They only talk about these 2 here, the drain bolt and the oil screen. But there's a 3rd one, that one up in there. So all 3 need to be removed. First one to remove is the drain plug, which is the one furthest to the back. Most of the oil is going to come out of that one. Whoops, lost it. It's alright, I'll pick that up later. Pull that guy out. It has a magnetic tip on the end of it. Always a good idea to check that for any filings. There's nothing on that one, which is good. The second one to remove is the one underneath. Now some guys don't do this one, and by not removing this one, you're going to leave a fair bit of oil in there. That's the short oil screen. I'll clean these up a bit later. And the last one to remove, the long oil screen. While that continues to drain, you can put your 8mm socket on and remove the oil filter at the front. For removing the oil filter itself, I find it useful with a circlip plier with the flat pieces on the head. Squeeze that apart and slide him out. The circlip thing is also handy to remove that long oil screen. And to clean all these things up, I use just part spray. So once it's drained for a while, just tilt the bike a bit just to make sure that any oil is not hiding in little recesses everywhere. I usually find a bit more will come out once I start tilting the bike left and right. So for the 2019 model, it is 1.2 litres of 10W50 is recommended. So I'll first do a litre. I just transfer it to another container that I've got because it has a nice little funnel on it. And the remaining 200ml, in reinstalling the bolts, the screws. There's 3 to put in, obviously, the 2 screens, the short and the long. These are both 15 Newton meters, and the drain plug, which is 20. Just take it easy when you're screwing these in. You obviously don't want to cross thread them. They should go in really easily to start with. 15 on the dial. Done. Got to be a bit careful with this oil screen, reinserting it. I have actually lost this screen way down in there at some point. It sits in on a little collar somewhere down in the back. It just pushes in, and you can just feel it. And it should be about flush with all of that, and it won't move. If you get it at the wrong angle, it's actually possible to shove it way down into the back there and disappear sort of further down in the back, and it's a bit of a bugger to get out. Screw this on. So what I'm saying is put this oil screen in first before you put the cap on. The cap should just spin over the top of the oil screen. I think when I lost it, I was doing it the other way. I had the oil screen inserted into the cap and pushed it in, and it got the wrong angle, and then I kind of lost it. So I put oil screen in first, cap on over the top, and again it's 15 Newton meters on this one, which is not much. Lastly is the actual drain plug, which is a little bit tighter at 20 Newton meters. I'm putting a new oil filter in. The manual says to lay the bike on its side, 1/3 fill this thing here with oil. Yeah, I've found just leaning it over a bit is probably enough. So I'll pour a bit of oil into there. What I also do, pour a bit of oil into the filter itself and sort of pre-soak that. That's kind of filled that now. Push the whole thing in. That should just snug into place as well. Snugged into place. Cap on. These bolts are only a 10 Newton meter torque on these, and if you're using the same wrench, you make sure you go back below 10, don't just dial it back to 10. You've got to come up to the value that you want. 10. 10 ain't much either. And putting the oil back in, this is why I use this particular bottle, because it has a nice little spout on it and it's easy to get in there. Funnels don't work so well because all the clutch plates etc. are too close to the filler. You can't get a funnel to sit in there nicely. Okay, and the last 200 mils, I'll just use it straight out of the jug. So the next thing to do is to just run the engine for a bit and get the oil circulating. So let it sit here for a bit. Now, according to the manual, the oil level should be middle of that sight glass. So that's just at the bottom of the red circle at the moment. So I think that is not enough. I'm happy to stick another 100 mil or so in there and just see what happens to that level. Personally, would rather have a little bit more than a little bit less. Let's run this bike again for a minute. Alright, so that's 1.3 litres. It was an extra 100 mil, and you can see that's brought it up to the middle. That's at the middle of that level, sight glass. Just another little tip that was pointed out to me at some point was using the Trip 2 to record when you do your oil change. So I use Trip 1 for fuel, and Trip 2, which currently says 26, but it's actually 1026. It's been a while since the last oil change. So I've just done the change, so I will reset Trip 2 back to 0. So that's 1,026, but that's only that's 16 hours. Obviously, most of you guys will know how to do your own oil changes. Perhaps some people don't. Perhaps they just hand it over to the local mechanics and get them to do it. But as you can see, it's pretty simple. And if you're like me, you probably enjoy working on your bike. That's it. See you in the next video.